This morning, with barely 46 days to go to the June 24th multi-tier elections, 10 political parties have so far successfully nominated their presidential candidates out of the 13 who have been okayed by PPRC. So this morning, to discuss the preparedness of the Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, amongst other things, we have in the studio Leone Momo, Director of Training and External Relations at the PPRC. Good morning, Leone. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Firstly, let's start off with what has been the role of PPRC so far to getting these political parties ready for their nomination.
The Political Parties Regulation Commission is a body established by the 1991 Constitution to supervise and register, political parties in Sierra Leone. And part of our mandate is to ensure that political parties are compliant with their party constitution. And being compliant with your party constitution will qualify you, to participate in an election. Because, mind you, some of these political parties, their constitution gives any executive, a period of time that they should go back to convention, or in some cases where there are extreme issues, they go back, to the second highest body in their constitution, to do an extension of time, which should not go beyond 6 months. So in preparing these political parties for elections, we looked at 4 thematic issues with political parties. One is their internal democracy, how they've formed they've constituted their organs, from the lower level up to their national delegate conference, wherein they elect, their national officers and their flag bearer. So we looked at that only these 13 a political party, now it's 14 because one was injuncted, and that injunction was lifted. That's the NDA, and so we also looked at the availability of office spaces as prescribed by law. Mm-hmm. The law says political parties, must have offices in the regional headquarter towns, which means they should have offices in Freetown, Botloko, Bo, Kenema, and Makeni, 5 offices. And we looked at that. We also looked at their reporting obligation. In the Political Parties Act, political parties have a series of reporting obligations. One, at the end of March every year, they must send to us their income, expenditure, assets, and liabilities for the previous year. And some were not compliant to that. And we'll also look at the 4th reporting obligation, which has to do that when a public election is announced, 14 days after the announcement of that elections that you want to participate in, you must also send to us your income, assets, and liability, and going into that public elections. That does not count for by-elections, but when you want to take part in those public elections, which are the general elections, you have to fulfill all of those criteria. When we look at all of these criteria, at that time it was 4 political parties that were unable to maintain at least minimum of 50% compliance, because if we wanted to look at full compliance, then the rumor that was making the rounds that only 3 political parties would contest the 2023 elections will be true. But owing to the fact that we know the society we are in, looking at the interest of the media, looking at the interest of civil society, looking at the interest of donor partners and the Sierra Leoneans, we as a commission decided that we'll look at 50% and above, and those we are unable to make those 50%. And then, there came in a 5th one, which was an injunction that I spoke about. Mm-hmm. And as we speak now, one of those 4 has already nominated because they fulfilled 50% of the criteria set out. Only 3 are yet to fulfill. And those three, I'll start with the one with injunction. We know the Coalition for Change Party, C4C, has been in court for over 2 years now. And the court, as was done for the All People's Congress, constituted a body that they call TINOC, that's the same as you had the ITGC for the APC, to conduct their lower level elections. They started their lower level elections. At some point, the commission was not notified that ABC is happening and that they're going to do their lower level elections in this location at this time and on a specific date. And then we asked them to go back, as we've done with all other political parties. They went and informed the PPRC. We monitored their processes, but they had an issue with Kono and Putloko, which became very violent, and they were unable to conduct. That's why they went out of time given to them by the court. They were given the 20th of March to have concluded the whole process and gone to convention. But they also applied to the court for extension of time, and that extension was given to them. And then they informed us that they will do the rest of Putloko and Kono, and do the rest of their lower level elections and go to convention three Sundays ago. On the Friday, going towards their convention, some members of the party again took the party to court and asked for an injunction. So they are injuncted. So being injuncted, you will not be able to nominate candidates, because the injunction means you should not do anything on or for the party until that injunction is lifted. The second party is the National Progressive Democrats, the NPD. The NPD was registered in 2018, and in their constitution, the executive have a mandate of 5 years. And as we speak, the only letter the commission received from the NPD is after we've decided to give that 50%, which they did not make, and they send in that letter and say, okay, we're looking at our constitution provides that we go to a special convention, and in that special convention, they will do what they want to do, whether to extend their tenure or not. And until I'm speaking now, they are yet to tell us when they are going to that convention, which means they've not even constituted their organs, and they are not occupying those positions legally as per their constitution. And the second issue is office space. You know, we are constrained to find them where they are registered.
Yeah,
you know?
I was part of that exercise.
Yes, I can recall we went to Kenema.
So I wanted to know if, as at now we're preparing for elections, are those parties having offices in those areas?
Well, as we speak, if I will continue the NPD, as we speak, they sent us a letter a week ago stating that they've, again, secured office spaces, you know, across the country. But last week we wanted to send letters to them, and our dispatcher went to the said premises that they say they now occupy, and to our dismay, that particular office was never found, you know. And so we are also going to verify the other offices that they reported that they've secured. I can recall we were there in Kenema when the landlord approached us that since election in our local plans, from when election done, the man no can again, they owe me, they get for pay me money for me host. And then we said, you know, that is criminal, and you yourself and the party can be sued by the PPRC. And then that matter ended. The landlord never came. And for the Unity Party, like 4 or 5 other political parties, wrote to us that they want to start they want to go to their lower level elections, and they are going to start at district level. And when we perused the constitution, as we normally do for political party, to see if the provisions quoted in that letter is in line with their constitution, and then we found out that it is in violation of Article 19 of the Constitution of the Unity Party. And then we called up the Unity Party to a meeting and then informed the leadership of the Unity Party, specifically the chairperson and the Secretary General, that you are in violation of Article 19 of your Constitution. So go back and do your lower level elections, starting at what level as prescribed in your Constitution. She was truthful enough to tell us that she does not have members all over the country, and then we advise that wherever you have members, go and constitute your organs, and then you come and do your national delegate conference. She agreed to go, and then we also said, please inform us about the dates, venue, and time of those elections. That was not adhered to. And a few days to, I think, the 2nd of February, when they wanted to hold their delegate conference, she sent us an invitation. And then we asked, how did you generate these bodies? And who witnessed these processes? What was our arrangement? He said, oh, I have toll gate receipts, I have this, we went and did this and that. And what they sent to us was an ordinary letter indicating that on this day we'll be doing lower level election, for example, in Cambia, in Kamakwe, without giving us the location. So our staff were constrained to go around those areas without seeing anything happening. So we asked her, we told her that, oh, okay, you said you've spent this and this of money, and that's okay. We said we'll investigate. And then we directed our deputy directors in the regions. And we scanned all of the documents sent. And then I was part of the investigation. We started doing a random calls, to numbers indicated in those documents. One of the person that I called that in their documents was said to be an elected official in Moyamba, told me, because how we do it is that I call you, I introduce myself. I am Lucien Momo. I'm working for the Political Parties Regulation Commission. Are you Mr. Amadou blah blah blah? He said yes. Which constituency are you in? So for that gentleman, he told us that he is in constituency 002 in Kailao. When in the document submitted to us, he is in Moyamba. He's an executive elected in Moyamba. We called another gentleman in Port Loko. He said, no, I do not have any interest in politics. And he thought we were, because I called him, he thought I was a political party person trying to galvanize membership. He said, oh, if you want me to be member of a party, I'm ready for joining, but me not a member of political party. And there was another gentleman who, on the list given to us in Freetown, around, I think, the magazine area, Mill Street to be specific, on the list given to us is the youth leader. And when we called him, he said he's the PRO. And someone else that called a lady said she is the women's leader, but was not part of the elections. She was in Maburka. And there was another one who told us that elections were not held, they were just handpicked. And there was a lady we called at Kalba Town who said she is APC. Few other people that we called said they are APC. There was a guy that we called at King Tom. He said he is SLPP. There are few others that said they are SLPP. There are few that said they are civil servants. There was one that I called, Ibrahim or something from Kailao. And when I called him, I said, as we do the introduction, which party do you belong to? Me not a party member. So I said, okay, thank you. But later on, he realized and he called again and said, hey, I been afraid for talking in a party member. I've seen our interview where they go for, now they don't call me for. I say, okay, fine. Even at that, it's also criminal, So we have a lot of these calls that we made, and when they invited us and the police wrote to us that we are in receipt of a permit written for police coverage by the UP. We replied the police that the UP is under investigation and we are constrained to even attend the convention. And so on the day of the convention, I think the police went again and withdrew the permits given to them. And then the Secretary General came to me in the office asking for audience with the commission, specifically the chairman. And in his presence, I called the chairman on the phone, who was on a retreat, because we are putting together the electoral laws, the brief version of the electoral laws, so that you can just pick up one document and be able to know the different, provisions in the Political Parties Act and the Public Elections laws, and also other laws surrounding elections in Sierra Leone. And then and the chairman said, I will not be available until the next Wednesday. So they went on and then did their elections. And in a press release or in a press conference held, my name was mentioned that the secretary approached me to go and address the delegates. Who am I to address their delegates? And I said, no, that is not factual. He only came, and he's on record, that they want to speak with the chairman. They want a meeting with the chairman. And I called the chairman, as I said, So for them, constituting their organs is a problem. Even making 20% of the criteria, office spaces, we only know of the office at number 4 Pademba Road. When this issue came up and when we started asking, and then the Secretary General came in with receipts, came to tender receipts. Yes, we accepted the receipts as evidence. And when we told the Secretary General, this does not suffice as to what the law says. The law says that you should provide us with a lease agreement paid up for not less than 5 years, not a receipt given. Anyone can get receipts. I can go downtown now and develop my own receipt book, Go all over the country, you will not see their office. Financial reporting is a problem. Reporting for elections is also a problem. So these are the 3 political parties, and these are the reasons they were not qualified to nominate candidates. And then I was with the leader of NPD and the Secretary General of UP yesterday in a radio discussion program. This is not about targeting specific political parties. Mm-hmm. If in the past, in the recent past, when the ruling government was doing their lower level elections, we cancelled most of their elections and asked for rerun, which means if we can do it to the party in power, which means we are creating a level playing field. I always give this example. We overturned one of the elections of the Sierra Leone People's Party, and we went to do the rerun. I think it was in Kamakwe. The chairman was there, the PPRC chairman was there, the SFP chairman was there. And then confusion erupted. The police had to fire tear gas. My chairman and their chairman went under the table. And under the table, there was this discussion. The chairman of the SFP was saying, now you make this thing happen. And then our chairman said, if you have done the right thing, we'll not be where we are, so you must do the right thing. So we've been doing this. When the All People's Congress were in power, when the former vice president was sacked, we wrote to the then Secretary General, Ambassador Usman Fodeyansane, seeking, information as to which provisions and processes used to arrive at that decision. The document sent to us was bulky. We had to go through it, look at reports, look at minutes, look at correspondence sent, and then we said, okay, it's part of your constitution. You are going in line with what is stated in your constitution. We're fine, because we want those for record's sake, so that some political parties, because of their own misgivings, will one day come and say, PPRC, when are APC or SLPP, we are not the talk nothing.
All right. So now, as it stands, and with the limited time we have for elections, those parties will not be having any chance to go in for the 2023 elections?
I cannot say until the nomination processes are over. Mind you, they know the timetable. This is not a timetable fixed yesterday, or overnight. They know the timetable and they know the provisions of their constitution. I believe they know the provisions of the Public Elections Act. They know the provisions of the 1991 Constitution, the Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022, and all related laws dealing with elections. So it's up to them, it behoves them to ensure that they meet the timelines set by the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone.
Okay, listen, let's talk about independent candidates now. What's the relationship between those parties, or what's the criteria set for them with the PPRC?
Well, for independent candidates, the only criteria we have for them is that we, few months ago, published a press release asking them to complete their declaration forms. And a few of them came into our office in Freetown and in Bo, Kenema, Makena, and Podloko to get those forms to fill them. And but our relationship with them goes into their conduct. If they misconduct themselves as political parties, the same penalty meted out to political parties will be meted out to them. One, in the following sequence, we'll warn them, we'll fine them, we'll suspend them, or we'll ask that they do not participate in those elections.
Okay, another thing that also was part of my, attention during all of these nomination processes, was the conduct of these political parties. Again, in a form of assessment, you have been covering elections for a period of time. Do you believe that we have grown, or are we at a certain stage that we should be proud of ourselves?
Well, I will say we've made progress. One, with the ban on street rallies, with the guidelines prescribed by the PPRC, the Office of National Security, the Sierra Leone Police, I think we've made progress. Progress in the sense that you will not see people converging in one area and moving. You now see people moving in bits by bits, But when they're going, they return back to their party offices, except for, few misunderstandings between the police and the APC supporters on the 1st of May. And yesterday, the PPRC, together with ONS and the Sierra Leone Police, met with a cross-section of the executive of the All People's Congress. And we discussed those issues and in a way to find ways of how we'll manage those situations wherein the police and the supporters will not clash. And several recommendations were made, and the IG has taken, all of the recommendations offered, and we'll also have to meet again with them and all registered political parties so that we'll stand, we'll be on the same page, going forward. Mind you, campaign starts in about 2 weeks from now, and then political parties will be moving around, campaigning. So we'll have to also meet with them, and then we'll start what we call unhindered access and the popularization of the new act. Unhindered access has to do with critical stakeholders at all levels, more especially in the districts, chiefdoms. We want to meet with paramount chiefs, section chiefs, key stakeholders in those communities to ensure that they provide the opportunity for every political party to go there and campaign without restrictions, So that is what we want to do. And also, in that same vein, we'll also popularize the act. We'll focus on popularization at this time with the conduct, looking at what should be done and what are the repercussions if these are not adhered to. And I want to also say kudos to all political parties, during their nominations, we did not hear obscenities, we did not hear songs that provokes obscenities and all of this. We hope they continue in that trajectory.
Excuse me, as part of PPRC's, set standards or criteria, what does, the PPRC has to say when it comes to manifesto? Because that's another issue, we are 46 days to the elections now. Is that also part of your mandate to see that they get to set out, their manifesto so that, the citizens can know what they're looking forward to? Is that part of it?
It's not our responsibility. Every serious political party that wants to govern Sierra Leone. Mind you, political parties are not social clubs. Political parties are a creation of the 1991 Constitution's Sections 35(1). Created political parties to shape the political will of the people, bring programs of a national character, and then sponsor candidates for presidential, parliamentary, and local council elections. If a political party is serious, then they'll come out with their manifestos. We do not have anything to do with their manifestos. What we want people to do is to look at their manifestos, critique their manifestos, and then go and exercise your God-given right of voting come the 24th of June.
I'm currently looking at the code and conduct of political parties as prescribed by the PPRC on the rights of parties and candidates. It states here on that D that political parties have the right to organize and hold rallies and public meetings for the purposes of campaign. To what extent is that right given when the PPRC and other election management bodies have thought it fit that rallies should not be part of this 2023 process?
We do not say rallies should not be. What we're saying is street rally. Over the years, you and I know the disadvantages outweighs the advantage of those street rallies. People will be afraid to send their kids to school. Some people will be afraid to open their shops. Some people will be afraid to move. And some bad elements in the society will want to use that opportunity either to the disadvantage of one political party. For example, somebody might not be a member of party X, and because he wants that party to be seen in a negative way, they'll go into those rallies, create confusion just for the parties, for that political party to be looked in a bad way. So it's part of preventing or part of protecting political parties. Mind you, before now, the code of conduct was a gentleman's agreement. It has been breached severally with impunity. All we did before now was to name, shame, and ask the necessary or relevant authorities to take action. For example, the police to investigate and bring to book the perpetrators. But now, it's not a gentleman's agreement. It's in the law. And in that law, it says that for every violation of the act, we'll first of all warn you. We'll then fine you. We'll suspend you. And the ultimate is deregistration. Before now, it was just deregistration. For us, we saw it as being too extreme. We've started using it. You can recall on the 14th of February, we warned the All People's Congress for a song. And on the 22nd, we fined the All People's Congress for that same song. And on that same day, we warned the SLPP for obstruction. Because when the APC were coming with the flag, there are elements or operatives of the SLPP at Calabar Town, specifically the attire base. They have two attire bases. Going on the right, the SLPP, on the left, the APC. And then we warned the SLPP because the operatives, they are obstructed the APC. And they made the videos themselves. Now we get here, now we didn't power on the pass here. So we warned them. Several defenses were brought forward. by those parties, and we said, no, those are not defenses. If I organize my party, or I organize my occasion, I invite you to my occasion, you're part of my occasion. If you do something that is not correct, I have the right and the authority to tell you to leave. Mm-hmm. So under that is what we did, you know, and we don't want to go to that extent. That is why we are now engaging the political parties, because we will not want to be seen as being heavy-handed, you know, using the law. Some people are saying PPRC and they make it like say no, I guess alone, and it is the law. And when we do not use the law, these are the same people who will say PPRC is not proactive. PPRC is a toothless bulldog, gets it in on a bet.
The reason why I asked this is, in 2018, lawyers Sori Sengemara took to the Supreme Court for interpretation on the restriction of vehicular movements on the day of elections. And the Supreme Court rightly so interpreted that the police or election management bodies do not have the right to stop people from moving on elections day. And to a very large extent, he has argued that that decision also reflects on the agreement or the law or regulation or rule now stated by the PPRC to curtail, to some extent, the movement of party supporters when it comes to rally, to an extent that it has taken away the movement to now converging in a certain area. How will that reflect in that you have a decision from the Supreme Court saying one thing, and you have what is stated in the Constitution, even though to a very large extent, or to some extent, we'll say that your rights also have limitations, and what is stated in the PPRC Act or the agreement between political parties and the PPRC in terms of how they should be regulated?
Those are two different issues. Lawyer Mara went to the Supreme Court to seek clarification on movement of vehicles. In this case, on the 27th of March this year, we organized a conference with all 17 registered political parties and key stakeholders, you know, where we will discuss two issues: campaign mode and nomination criteria. And in that meeting, it was unanimously agreed by political parties present that yes, they see the need for a ban. We created two scenarios. Now, it's up to them as political parties to choose on that day. Go on street rallies and be ready for the penalties therein if violations occur. Or go to a designated areas. Your people go and meet you in those designated areas. You campaign your people. You want to dance there in that designated area for the rest of the day. It's up to you. And save your party from the law. And they chose a ban on street rallies, but they will go to a designated areas. There was only one person on that day who said, that's the National Secretary General of the All People's Congress, Leone. He said his party is not averse to ban on campaigns, on street rallies, but their concern is how the security will create a level playing field for supporters during those periods. And that is, again, what triggers our meeting with a cross-section of the APC yesterday. So that we want to build that relationship between the APC and the police. So they will also see themselves as friends and as Sierra Leoneans and as brothers and sisters.
Let's talk about the election campaign period under the PPRC Act. You know, for the very first time, we have seen, you know, the date for the election was set months ahead. You know, as part of your functions and your mandate, again, in the growth of the PPRC, what does that mean for the people of Sierra Leone?
Well, it speaks a lot that we've made progress. We've made progress in the sense that before now we'll be thinking when we'll have elections. And I think election dates were announced by both the president and the ECSL over a year ago, you know. And I believe any political party that, you know, seriously wants to contest would have been well prepared, you know, to participate. And for the people of Sierra Leone, it gives us the opportunity again to elect our leaders. All I'll say, the benefit of this is for the people of Sierra Leone.
Still on, still on the PPRC Act, it states here that unauthorized access to computer material, and that has to do with the offenses related to information technology. You know, what's in there for that particular area, the computer material, you know, preparations ahead of elections?
Well, PPRC do not manage elections. The ECSL manages elections. Our
for
mandate
the Public Elections Act.
Our mandate is to regulate the affairs and conduct of political parties, so that they will conduct themselves within the confines of the law, which includes their own party constitutions. But dealing with electoral materials, that is the purview of our sister AMB, the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
All right, and continue to stay with us in the studio. You're still watching Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television on channel 33. We're also on DSTV on channel 399. Lucian, let's now speak towards going into the elections proper. Still, political parties are carrying on with their nomination process, pending any other objection that may arise before the 17th of May. And you've just stated that all political parties who have not fulfilled their conditions or requirement still have this period within, or they already know that the calendar that they should work with. Let's now speak to these political parties that have gone through their nomination processes. From PPRC, what are you expecting of them?
Well, we're expecting that they organize themselves within the confines of the law. You know, as you rightly said, there is a period for objections, and if someone wants to object in good faith, and we want the supporters and operatives of political parties to ensure that they keep themselves within the law. And if there are any issues, you know, please bring them up to the PPRC. We will approach the relevant authorities and see how we can handle them. That is what we did in 2018. You know, before the elections, and a day after the elections, we even met with all of the presidential candidates, you know, trying to know what their challenges are, what their concerns are. We took them to the relevant authorities, and those were addressed. So we want political parties, again, to please come to the PPRC when you have any issues, so that we can discuss and find a way out.
And lastly, before we leave you, will the PPRC be available to ensure that they monitor the activities of all political parties throughout this election process right across the country?
Well, as I am sitting here now, we're sending employment letter to 20 ad hoc staff that we've recruited. And those ad hoc staff will be deployed across the country in every district. And as I speak here now, we have 11 youth corps that have been deployed across the country, you know, so that our presence, you know, will be felt right around. We do not want to rely on a third-party information on anything that occurs in any area. We want to have our own say that the PPRC was there and the PPRC witnessed A, B, C, and D.
Finally, to those political parties, you know, which you cannot confirm whether they will be part of the, you know, the electioneering process or not, what would you have to say to them?
My message to those political parties is that let them ensure that they go by the provisions of their constitution. And that is the only thing that I will say, because our mandate, as prescribed in the Political Parties Act, is to ensure political pluralism, which means that if any movement, association that qualifies to be registered as a political party, we must register them. and to ensure constitutionalism within political parties, which means we are there to ensure that political parties go by their constitution. And mind you, some people will go around and say, since we've done our lower level elections, no one has objected. The Political Parties Act number 3 of 2002 is not the same Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022. 2003 said when approached. 2022 says the PPRC mediates a conflict. That is why before now, people were constrained to come with some complaints to the PPRC, because the old law says when approached by the leadership. So the old one was saying if you are not a leader of the political party, you cannot complain to the political party. So now, when you are a fully paid up member, you can bring a complaint against your political party, because you are putting your finances, and you will not be, gone are those days when the leadership of political parties, will take advantage on their members.
No, so thank you very much, Lucian, for joining us this morning. He's Lucian Momo, Director of Training and External Relations at the PPRC.